What's up, guys? Welcome to the episode. Today we've got a bit of a different one for you. So Lisa from Nutrition Coaching and Life wanted to interview me about how I get results with my clients. So we talked a little bit about my journey. We dove into the 4 pillars that I use with my clients to get results. We also chatted about a bunch of practical takeaways, so nutrition, movement, sleep, and stress management tips and takeaways for you to use and implement immediately. And then also an uncommon but really beneficial thing that I've implemented into my life that I think that you could benefit from as well. So let's dive right in here. Enjoy.
Well, I'm so excited to have you on today. I started off basically saying that I think you're going to be, or what you have to say today is going to be so valuable because everybody's busy these days. Everybody, or a lot of people, know that they are capable of more, that there is more in store for them, and they're unhappy where they're at the moment. They're just feeling held back by their current lifestyle, or they think they, are being a little bit overweight, that's normal, whatever. But deep down, I think so many people know that they can get in great shape, that they can be happy in their body, and that they can truly feel healthy and so on. And so I think your transformation, for one, is a really great example, but also just the things that you do with your clients. So if you would like to just start by, I guess, giving people a bit of a background about who you are, what your journey was, and then we'll get more into the work that you do with your clients as well.
Totally. Well, first off, thanks for having me.
My pleasure,
And
really.
yeah, as far as who I work with busy professionals and I help them lose fat and get healthy essentially. And as far as my journey goes, well, I do that online too. I do online nutritional coaching and online workout design. And as far as my journey goes, like I played a ton of sports. And then once I hit high school, I started to specialize a little bit more in, basketball and football. American football were my sports. And I wanted to put on some weight because I wanted to get a little bit more muscular and just not be, that skinny kid on the football field kind of thing. And I did. It worked, but it worked too well. And I put on more and more weight as I went through high school. And by the time I was a senior, I'm 5'10". I was 190 pounds, which doesn't sound crazy heavy, but for 5'10" with my build and my position that I played, like I played receiver and corner, it just wasn't necessary to be that big. And I was just carrying a lot of extra body fat. And then after high school, I stopped playing competitive sports as much and I continued to eat in the same way, and things just got out of hand. My expenditure went down, my alcohol intake went up, and my food intake or habits stayed, virtually the same. And it was just this recipe for, fat gain. My digestion was funky. I have a couple of autoimmune conditions, which, fortunately I'm able to manage via diet now, but everything just sort of went awry. And then I figured out how to get things on track, which was so empowering. And I felt like after I got myself healthy that I had to help other folks do this as well. Yeah, it was just like, I felt like I had to share because it was such a powerful, intervention for me. Yeah. And so that's, how I sort of got into nutritional coaching, and it's been 10 years now, and so far so good, knock on wood.
Well, first of all, thanks so much for sharing that, and so much I think cool information in there already, because so many people obviously with, like, is it freshman 15 or whatever people talk about, like you're used to a certain activity level and you're used to, in your teens especially, great metabolism, and you just, you can eat whatever, your body doesn't really mind. But then you change your lifestyle more to partying and whatever, but you continue eating that way, and then that transformation, I think so many people can probably relate to that. I'd be curious, like, what were the main things that, like, helped you educate yourself, or how did you gain that knowledge of, okay, that's what I should be doing instead? Because there's so much confusing information out there. You know, did you try different diets? Did you take a course? Did you have someone help you? How did you learn?
Yeah, just a ton of mistakes. So
Hmm.
much trial and error. Like, I wanted there to be some special diet where, you know, I remember doing this Body for Life program. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but it
I
was like,
have not, no.
okay, so you eat, really quote unquote clean throughout the week for 6 days, and then you have one day where you eat whatever you want. Okay, so I
Oh,
was like,
okay,
oh, this is amazing. I'm an abstainer. This will work perfectly for me.
yeah.
And the thing was that I worked so hard Monday through Saturday, and then on Sunday I overate to such a degree that I erased my progress, my deficit from the entire week. And so
Wow.
it was an amazing way just to spin my wheels, and I felt like I was
Mm.
working so hard Monday through Saturday, but then I didn't care at all on a Sunday, and I wanted to have my cake and eat it too. And
Yeah.
so it was so much trial and error, and finally I discovered that, the principles, the foundations are what are going to get me results. And as soon as I accepted that and I just
Mm.
doubled down, stayed consistent, and really followed through and committed to that, to the four pillars as I see them, which are nutrition, movement, sleep, and stress management. As soon as I really committed to that, I got the results that I was after that whole time, after just, I mean, so much wasting time essentially. And so,
Well,
yeah,
but I mean lessons that you learned, and as you say, like at least now you're a coach, and those are lessons that you can use so that other people don't have to make those same mistakes or like having gone through the same thing. So I love it. I love the concept of the pillars, and clearly those pillars don't just work for you; they work for your clients. Also, I had a browse through your website, and I mean amazing transformations, really like not just weight loss, but like clearly people shining from the inside out, and looking healthier on every level, and more definition, like really, really beautiful stuff. So, uh, if you don't mind, take me through how you teach those pillars to your clients when you onboard them or when you start working with them.
yeah, totally. So basically I send them a pretty comprehensive questionnaire because we want to get clear on, what this individual's goals are, first and foremost, what they're committed to, what they're willing to, you know do lifestyle wise, and
Mm-hmm.
what they're not willing to. It's all about trade-offs. And so I put together a nutrition program based on, their schedule, lifestyle needs, wants,
Oh, cool.
um,
Yes.
things that they maybe aren't willing to give up. Alcohol is one of those things where it really varies between my clients as far as how much they consume, and, just understanding meals out, all of that sort of stuff. So we put together a nutrition program that fits for them. I have all of my clients at least aim to hit 10,000 steps per day. If they
Love
want
it.
to work out on top of that, I see that as a bonus. Um,
Cool. Yeah.
I do not require my clients to go to the gym. If they don't want to do that, that's totally their call. It also depends on how they want to look. Like, I I tell them that they're not going to build any muscle if they don't resistance train, of
Sure.
course.
Yeah.
But some people just it's not a priority, and they feel really good with like hitting their 10,000 steps, dialing in the nutrition, and then sleep wise, 7 to 9 hours per night, getting good sleep hygiene in place. Um,
Awesome.
and setting them up for success. And the beautiful thing about the nutrition, movement, and sleep stuff is that it often handles a lot of the stress management in and of
Mm-hmm.
itself, because people are like, I'm so stressed out, what do I do? What is the stress management tactic? Do I need to start meditating? Do I need to, like,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is? And it's like, let's get these things in place that have us thrive just on a basic human level. We are animals, and that is nutrition, movement, and sleep. And so when we dial
Totally.
those three in, the stress management piece often handles itself. And then if
Mm-hmm.
things do come up, you're just so much better equipped to handle those things with those other three pillars in place. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. And I think even just to the point of the 10,000 steps, I think walking is actually such a great form of stress management and meditation. Of course, granted that you don't necessarily look at your phone or answer 1 million horrible calls at the same time. But, if you go out into the daylight and you get your steps, that's one of the best forms of therapy for most people. Like, talking about stress management, and that on top of your good sleep and so on, 7 hours, that itself is so beneficial for mental health. So I absolutely love those basic pillars. And I also really like what you said in the sense of asking them what they are willing to give up, because I can imagine that according to that, you can, or it helps themselves and helps you to justify or to outline how long their journey will take, right? So if someone comes to you and they say, hey, I want to drink 2 glasses of wine every single night, but then they tell you they want to lose 2 kg per week, then you can clearly say, hey, do you see the discrepancy here? If you're happy to, reduce that a little bit, and we're meeting somewhere in the middle to like losing a kg or so per week, is that something you'd be happy to do? Or if you want to continue with your 2 glasses of wine every single night, would you be happy with like half a kg per week? Like it's almost like they get to choose their rate of progress to an extent, at least, because as opposed to like simply saying to you, I want this and that, but then in the end complaining or whatever that they didn't get there fast enough, because they make their own choice, right? So I love that. I think that that's a really great approach, and it just helps clarify timeline for people, because I find often that's one of the things that holds, or where people lose motivation, because their expectations are unrealistic, and they head into that with that expectation, and then it's not working as fast as they want or the same way that they want, and then 2 3 weeks, oh, this is not working, or it's too slow. But if they say themselves, okay, I do want to drink, I'm accepting that it's moving a bit slower, that's cool. Then you're both on the same page. It just makes communication really, really easy. So I love it.
Yeah, totally. That's a great point. And yeah, I like to take that approach with my clients because they truly can progress as fast as they want to progress.
For
And
sure.
the body never lies, and it is a perfect reflection of the inputs. And
Mm-hmm.
the more that you put in, the more that you get out. It really is that simple. But the choice, like you said, is huge, because the choice is theirs. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we are not with our clients 24/7. Um, and everything weighs up differently. Everybody is so different in the sense of what they prioritize. Like for some folks, you know, having that 2 glasses of wine might be like a net win for them lifestyle wise in comparison to scaling that back a little bit. And the only person that can make that choice is them, and no judgment. It's just we
No,
have to temper
absolutely.
expectation based on, those inputs again.
Yeah, definitely. It gives them ownership, and it gives them some sense of control, and also, yeah, their own perception of like, okay, maybe I can speed this up if I do say no to that second glass of wine type of
Yeah.
thing. So no, absolutely cool. I like the 4 pillars, and I love the individualization piece. I mean, I think if anything with nutrition coaching, individualization is so so important. But nonetheless, I'd be curious to know if you had to give like everybody 1 to 3 things or so to focus on, like everybody in the world, in order to be healthier. Um, what would that be? Would that be those part of those pillars, or if you could pick like one of them, or even just like practical advice? Is there something you would tell people?
Yeah, well, it would be those. It would be the nutrition, movement, and sleep, and then with the fourth pillar being the stress management. But I'll make that more practical because it's just
Cool.
so umbrella.
Love it. Yeah.
Nutrition wise, the first whistle stop for me is, shifting your food environment in a way that makes it easier to eat in the way that you want to eat. So eat in the way that is congruent with your goals. If you have food around that, you know, is highly tempting, hyper palatable, and calorie dense, it is not a matter of if you're going to eat it, it is when. That is evolutionary biology.
That is gold, yes.
Yeah. So, and it's not because, you know, you're weak and you're not disciplined and you have no willpower. It is quite literally, we are animals. That is the way that we're designed. It's called optimal foraging theory or optimal foraging strategy. We want to, the advice of eat less, move more is perfectly contrary to our evolutionary biology. And so having those treat foods around, or the foods that you don't want to eat, easily accessible, it just makes things so much harder on yourself. So I like to have my clients first and foremost set themselves up for success via their food environment.
I love that as like the practical takeaway, because I think as you say, it makes all the difference, and it just makes life easier for you. It really, really does. And I always like to refer to like willpower as something like you have a bucket of willpower essentially, and you know, if you have to make so many decisions all over the day, like what route am I taking, what am I to work, or like decisions, right? Like what route am I taking, what am I wearing, oh no, I'm not going to go on social media right now, and you know, all that requires willpower. And then at the end of the day, your willpower bucket is nearly empty, and then you come home and you have all these cupboards full of the food that maybe your family is eating or whatever, and you're not intending to eat, but that's when your willpower, you've run out. And even though you had your perfectly prepped fish and veggies in the steak, you're like, oh, I'm gonna have pizza with my family.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it really is so true, like setting yourself up more successfully. I think too, what's cool about that approach is it doesn't necessarily imply that people can't ever have treat foods or whatever. It just means their environment is set up in a way that it's conducive to choosing the right thing. And if they want to have ice cream, they can make the conscious decision to, hey, I'm going to go to this ice cream place and have ice cream tonight. But it's not the same thing as having a freezer full of all your favorite ice cream flavors. There is a big difference between that. So I think that is a really, really great foundational practical tip for everybody, for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, we've got technology like you can order Uber Eats anytime you want. I don't think the issue is access, right? And
No.
so you might as well just set yourself up for success and make it easier, given that it's so hard. And
Yes. Yes.
as far as discipline goes and willpower, the research is actually really clear in the sense that the folks that are the most quote unquote disciplined actually use their discipline the least. And
Mm-hmm.
reason being is they understand their tendencies and they set themselves up for success within that. So instead of it being, you know, oh my God, these people are so disciplined, they're like not like me because I lack discipline. No, they are just like you. They just set themselves up for success, and they actually deplete that willpower bucket or discipline bucket less and less each day because they understand the way that that system works.
Exactly. The systems, the habits, the routines, environment, all of that. That's actually, yeah, no, I think a really good point. And would there be anything that you would add to the point of environment or setting yourself up in terms of environment as a tip?
I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah, just keep
The
like
main, yes.
stocking the fridge also with foods that you want to eat, not just eliminating like you want
Yes.
food around. So yeah, making sure
I
that you
think
have the things around that are going to contribute to your goals as opposed to, you know, sabotage them essentially.
cool. Cool. Yeah, and I guess in terms of other points, do you have personally or with your clients as well, do you have any like, I guess, unconventional tips or methods that have worked incredibly well for you that are either being debated by other people, or people even say like that's bullshit, don't focus on that, but you think that that's actually a big game changer. Is there anything that would come to mind in that kind of area?
Yeah, totally. I'll just quickly address the other two pillars, like something practical.
Yes.
So movement wise with the steps, the 10K steps, looking for moments in your day where you could be moving, but it not actually adding additional time to your day. For example, if you were on your phone, I implement a simple little rule with my clients that if you're on your phone, you're either standing or you're pacing around. So if I'm walking around my place as I'm on my phone, I might get another couple thousand steps a day, depending on how much you move or how much you use your phone rather. And that stuff adds up and it doesn't actually add any additional time to your day. You know, phone calls, walks with friends instead of sitting at a restaurant, you know, you can go grab a coffee and go for a stroll, things like that. Sleep wise, making sure that you are getting daylight exposure as early as possible. So light entering your eye to anchor your circadian rhythm. And then at nighttime, you know, if you do want to use a bunch of screens, the closer you can go to bed to when the sun goes down, the better. We'd like to, you know, 2 to 3 hours within the sun going down. If you can be in bed and asleep, that is ideal. I realize that that's not always so practical, but that's sort of the goal. And minimizing blue light exposure at night. And we can use tech for stuff like this too, like using f.lux and pulling the blue light out of your screens and, you know, just not watching maybe even a Netflix show that is going to rile you up and really stimulate you, but maybe something that's like pretty chill and casual. Little things like that can really add to just better sleep, which then transfers into so many of, you know, other great habits. It's just going to set you up for success again, like the food environment. If you are sleeping well, you're much more likely to eat better and move more.
Yeah, I think they call those keystone habits, right? Like if you implement one good habit, and then often, you know, automatically you're more inclined to do something else as well. And one of my, just touching on the sleep topic, one of my pet peeves when it comes to sleep is phone in bed. It makes me angry, actually. I mean, not saying that I never used to do it, but I think specifically because I used to do it and because I have had big issues with sleep and, like, you know, ongoing, well, not ongoing, but it really wrecked my hormones as well. And because of that, nowadays I am so meticulous about my sleep. And I think one of the reasons why it makes me mad too is because I know how important it is what we put into our brain last thing before we go to bed and first thing in the morning. I think it can ruin your entire day, an entire night, if you start off on the wrong foot or on the wrong, you know, message or whatever. You wake up and people are like, grabbing their phone, because of course for most people that's where the alarm is. But I mean, nowadays with smartphones and stuff like that, you can set your alarm on your phone. You can purchase a cheap $10 you know, alarm clock and leave your phone out of the room, or at least on the opposite side of the room, so you have to get up and get it or whatever if you wanted to. But like first thing in the morning, looking at your phone, and if the first thing you would do would be listening to a podcast or calming music, cool, all good, power to you. But for most people, it's, oh, I got 10 messages or my emails or social media, and you scroll, and 9 times out of 10, it makes you feel like crap about yourself because other people are doing something cooler, or you get a negative message or whatever. And the base for me is just, it's a very reactive way to start or finish your day, and it's not self-directed. So that is a sorry little side rant, but that's that's one of my pet peeves, where I think it can be a huge game changer for people not looking at their phone like last thing before going to sleep and first thing in the morning. I think that, yeah, if that was like my one tip for everybody in the world, it would be that.
It's a great point, and I think the easiest way to think about it is just first impressions. Like when you meet someone for the first time, that first impression really matters. And if it is a bad first impression, it is so hard for someone to undo that afterwards. Like first impressions matter, the way you start your day matters. And then also in regards to first impressions with people, in that analogy, is we tend to remember the first thing and the last thing about an interaction with somebody. And so it's very hard to remember all of this stuff in between. And so, like you said, the last thing that you put into your brain in a day is going to impact your sleep. It's going to maybe even potentially impact your dreams. Like,
Yes.
you know, it matters. It matters. First impressions are huge.
Yes. Yes. Sorry. On that note, I kind of took that a little bit too far, but
No, no,
yes.
that's great. I mean, it's super helpful. It's true. And like, also, I personally, I keep my phone outside of my room. And I put it on airplane mode no later than typically like 8 p.m. because, again, with like similar to the food environment, if I walk into the kitchen after 8 and I see that some messages have come through, I know myself, it's too tempting. I'm going to check it. So by
Yes.
using airplane mode, I just take that out of the equation. I know my
Mhm.
tendency, and I'd rather just not have to use that discipline or willpower to like stay
Yes.
away from it, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. I shared the other day in this group. There is actually something which is called like a phone lock box, and it's like this plastic container you put your phone in, and you set like you set a time on there. So it's
Whoa.
basically, lock it from like 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. or whatever time you want. And there is an emergency button. So if you actually need to like call and do an emergency call, you can unlock it. But otherwise, you can't access it. So,
That's
but I
wild.
mean, it's still like if people go through all kinds of things in order to, if that's what you need in order to like refrain from it, good for you. Like, go for it.
Whatever works. Like
Exactly.
a lot of people put their Wi-Fi on a timer too, which takes that out, and the effort barrier to like change the Wi-Fi back on often will just, you know, deter you from doing it altogether. You're like, whatever. And that, again, I feel like I'm harping on the food environment, but if you have to order food versus you have healthful prep food around, you're just making it easier for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Cool.
as far as the one sort of game changing thing for me personally, it has been journaling. So
Oh, cool.
I started journaling a year and a half ago, and I do it Monday through Friday, first thing in the morning.
Hmm.
Um, and it helps me to set the tone for my day. And it
Hmm.
often, like sometimes I'll write about things that I'm just feeling, experiencing, whatever. I'll often go into things that I'm grateful for, and I go out of my way to be like, you know, I've got it pretty good. And I want to not take that for granted. And
Yeah.
journaling helps me to just sort of take that lens or that perspective of, you know, I've got a pretty great life, and I feel very fortunate to say that. And it's also just been a really cool way to be a better friend to myself, as corny as that
Oh,
sounds.
I love that. Yeah.
Like to check in with me, and whatever I write in there, no one else is going to see it. I am 100% honest. And it's just a
Hmm.
beautiful thing. Like, I don't have to worry about judgment or anything like that or critiques. It's just like, I get to have that time with me. And it's just, I've genuinely become a better, more, I would say, compassionate friend to myself via that process, that journaling process.
I love that. That is so, so cool. I mean, you said it's pretty flexible in terms of what you write in there. We have actually had a 30-day journaling challenge here in this group before, and I'm a big fan of journaling also. So I'd love to know if or what tips you have for someone who's looking to get started. I know some people say like, okay, start with 3 things you're grateful for, or other people they have like a more review in terms of that's what I did yesterday or a goal setting or so. Is there anything that you follow or you would have as a tip for anybody who's wanting to start?
Yeah, so I actually put in a podcast episode together on how to
Cool.
start journaling. But
Oh, I'll make sure to link that too.
yeah,
Yes.
to make this more practical for this combo, like, I mean, it sounds so simple, but just the first thing I write is, you know, hey man, how you doing? Like, how are you?
Mm,
And genuinely answering that question. Like it's we see people out in public and we're like, how you doing? What's going on? It's very cordial, and that's cool too. But genuinely, like,
hmm.
how do I feel? How did I sleep?
Yeah.
Where am I at? You know, and what am I going through or whatever? the prompts are probably going to be very individual. And at some point I've found that it just starts to flow, but I don't rush it in any way. And I don't set a time limit for myself. As soon as I feel like I'm done, I feel like I'm done. And I have a bit of a rhythm or routine with it that I've developed, but it sort of shifts and molds as time goes on. And but as far as getting started, just probably like get a journal or something that you really enjoy writing in, like you like the aesthetic of it, the look of it, the feel of it. I noticed something so funny about myself, that I get these cheap books or whatever, but I was writing on both sides of the paper. And I found that I'm right-handed, and writing on the back of the one page, my hand kept running into the binding and I was finding it so annoying. So I simply started just writing on the front of every page.
Yes.
And it makes it more enjoyable for me. Like, who would have thought that? It's so weird, but it was like,
that's
I was
a
like,
cool
oh,
little hack though.
yeah. And so writing in something that you like and you enjoy the aesthetic of, also getting a pen that you really like the feel of, I think that
That's a
matters.
big one. Yes.
Yeah.
I think we underestimate the importance of aesthetics, or like just in general how things feel with everything. Like even with, with food, your food doesn't always have to be pretty or whatever, but like generally make it colorful. It looks cool or whatever. Or like when you have your cup of coffee, go out on the porch or whatever and look at some flowers, as opposed to just sculpting it down and then carrying on or whatever. So like, yeah, truly with everything, just trying to look for how can I make that a little bit better, 1% better or whatever. That is a great approach, even when it comes to something like a pen. So
a pen, right? Like I have this specific type of, ink ballpoint pen, and I have like 5 or 6 colors. And anytime that I feel like switching the color up mid sentence or whatever, I just do. And it's just like this very sort of flowy thing, but it didn't start out that way. But once the habit and routine is developed, you can sort of play with this stuff and have fun with it. And there are no rules. Like you can use 5 different colors. You can use whatever pen you want. You can, whatever. You can even record your journals. You can do it via voice recording, like however you want to do it. I've just found it to be so beneficial as just a life practice, I would say.
I love it. And what I like too is that you don't make yourself do it every single day, because I think sometimes we're so stuck in like being on and off, or that all or nothing thinking, oh, I've missed a day or whatever. And instead it's like, oh no, by now it's routine. And if you don't necessarily feel like doing it all the time, then you're not going to do it on that one day. It's fine. Like, for example, if today your flight was at 5 a.m., you might not have journaled, and that's cool, as opposed to thinking, oh, I should have done that. So like, I kind of like, I used to be, even more than I am now, such a rule and structure person. And I initially was like, okay, I need to write exactly this and that, 3 things that I'm grateful for. And then I need to go into how my day is going to look. And at some stage I was like, well, this is turning way too long, first of all. And so I thought, if I didn't do the whole page, then I might as well not write it all, which is stupid thinking. So now I'm like, some days I feel like writing 3 sentences. Other days I write 3 pages, and that's cool. But it's a way of, like writing down what's in, how I'm feeling on that day. So I think just to add on to your, I guess, recommendation there, I would totally say, make it your own. If someone wants to start, make it your own, however, whatever that looks like for you on that day. If that's reflective, if that's goal setting, if that's gratitude, cool.
Yeah, and mastering the art of showing up, right? Like, even if you write 1 line, like that's a win, and you showed up. And if, as far as flights and stuff like that go, I don't stress about like having to do it the same as you. But if I do miss a day, say on a Thursday, I'll make it up on a Saturday. And I don't stress about it too much. If I don't make it up, it's not the end of the world. But I do think that sort of revisiting it and like really hammering that consistency piece in creates something that is truly a habit, because
Yeah.
our habits can really, they can slip quick, like especially
Yeah.
in terms of diet. Like, one vacation can throw off months of,
Oh, absolutely.
consistency and hard work, as far as just making it difficult to get back on track. Like it can be tough. So, but
I
yeah,
mean, even just speaking of your own like weight loss thing, when you said you were so dialed in and really strict for 6 days, and then that one whole cheat day, like six, I don't know exactly what that percentage is, but 6 days out of a week, that's quite a lot. You would think, but still, that one day throwing everything off is insane.
yeah. And then if I look at it, if I take a step back and look at it as a percentage of total calorie intake, I was likely consuming an equivalent amount of calories on that, or pretty close to the entire rest of the week combined. And so as a percentage, it's actually like 50-50, right? Which is why
Yes,
it probably wasn't quite that, but you get the
yes, still,
idea.
yes.
Yeah. And so, oh man, like calories add up.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I definitely want to respect your time, but I do have one big last question, I guess, because you also mentioned like most of your clients are super busy, and what is something that really helps busy people in particular staying on track with everything that you teach, or when if someone comes to you, a successful business person but just really always eating on the go, for instance, or a mom as well, mostly taking care of her kids and career and so on, how do you simplify those four pillars for them so that they can actually make it part of their lifestyle long term?
Yeah, great question. So the obvious thing is prepping and planning ahead.
Mm,
However, I like to take a step back and look at, so when time is limited, productivity is extremely important. And if you are dialing in your nutrition, your movement, your sleep, and your stress management, you are going to be so much more productive with your time, that if you take an hour once or twice a week to like meal prep ahead, you are going to gain so much productivity on the back end that it is going to be, a compounding interest situation. It is worth it and then some. And so
mhm.
just acknowledging that what that person is doing, like running through the fast food joint to like pick up a burger and fries or whatever, like what is that costing you in terms of attention after that, and
Mhm.
energy levels, and is it impacting your sleep? Is it, you're not reaching your goals? That's really frustrating mentally and from a psychological standpoint. So just taking a step back and looking at the big picture, as opposed to being so like in it day to day like a
Yes.
fish in water, and understanding that taking care of yourself on the front end is going to provide you so much more on the back end. No matter how busy you are, eating better is going to make you more productive. Like
Totally.
it's just, it's not debatable. The brain functions much better when it's well slept, it's moved, and
Yes.
it's getting the nutrients that it needs. And so just sort of reframing that busyness, but then also setting yourself up for success with prepping and planning. And you might not be able to cook every single meal fresh and have it be ready to go, because trade-offs, like
Mhm.
prepping in bulk is a really awesome tool to set yourself up for success on the back end. But yeah, I think it's important to reframe, busyness and productivity and stuff, and understand what someone is giving up by not taking care of themselves on the front
Yes.
end. It's just so important. And I think that again, when you take a step back, it is a net win to take a little bit more time up front, as opposed to do the convenient thing in that moment. So it's sort of like, the easy thing now, but doing the hard thing now is going to give you so much more on the back end, if that makes sense.
It makes 100% sense. I think, first of all, you made a great distinction there between busyness and productivity, because sometimes I think people are just, go, 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 go the whole time. But are they actually being like efficient is probably rather the other word. So for example, when it comes to food, if you go through the drive-through or whatever, or you cook separately every single night, half an hour, as opposed to doing a meal prep once a week or twice a week for half an hour or an hour or whatever, that already saves time. And then how many things are you doing that you could be outsourcing? How many things are you doing just because you've always done them, kind of thing? Thinking about that, where you can potentially cut down some of the stuff that you're doing. I think that's definitely a good point. And with the taking a step back and looking at investing some time up front is so helpful. It's like that whole, I've brought this comparison before, but that whole thought of like, you're driving a car and you think you're too busy, you need to get to your goal so fast you can't stop for gas. It just, like you need to stop for, or you're working with a chainsaw or an axe or whatever, which is blunt. You would be so much quicker and better if you'd stopped and you sharpened it. You'd get stuff down in like a third of the time. But I'm saying this with all the kindness in my heart, because I think we're all sometimes so wrapped up in our own routines and habits and so on, that it's hard to take that step back on our own. So it's great to have a coach like you, who says, let's look at this bird's view or whatever. What can we do? What is actually helping you? What could we implement here and there or change, so that you're actually just doing the things that are bringing you forward?
Yeah, totally. In regards to like, whether it's parenting or you're really, really passionate about your job or whatever it is, you are going to be a better parent if you are taking care of yourself. And every parent loves their children, beyond belief. And just sort of reframing the sense that like, if you can be better at parenting by simply eating, moving, and sleeping properly, that is a beautiful thing. And if you don't even want to do it for yourself, but you want to do it for your kids, because you know that, you're more patient when you're well slept and you're taking care of yourself, or you're more on point at work and your cognitive functioning is better, and it just makes everything better, essentially.
Everything.
Yeah, and you nailed it when you said the word efficiency. It is that, and it's also an investment. It's not like time spent meal prepping, but time invested.
Yes, I like that. Yes, Marcus, thank you so much for all your incredible takeaways here. I think people watching this and people watching the replay and on YouTube are going to get a ton out of this. So thank you for your time.
I hope you guys enjoyed that chat. Now, if you are interested in applying for one-on-one nutritional coaching and or workout design with me, you can click the link in the description below or head on over to n1fitness.com/coaching. On Instagram, I'm at N1Fitness. On TikTok, I'm at the N1Fitness. And then on YouTube, I am at Marcus Sadu. Please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform, and be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that you found this episode useful, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.